We didn't need a crystal ball to predict that generative AI would impact our lives, including the way we work. However, the full extent of this transformation is still unfolding. Finding the right balance between human intelligence and AI capabilities remains an ongoing quest. What's clear is that GenAI tools are reshaping the modern workplace, revolutionizing the way we collaborate, automate tasks, and make decisions. They enhance productivity and redefine workflows. But how can organizations harness their full potential while tackling challenges like governance and integration? In this episode of Tech Talk, we sit down with Xavier Lisoir, Managing Director in Digital Transformation at PwC Luxembourg, and Davy De Roeck, Senior Technical Specialist in Business Applications and Low Code at Microsoft Benelux, to explore how GenAI solutions are transforming the way we work and how to apply them effectively. I'm your host, Carla Santos, and this is Tech Talk, technology made simple over a cup of coffee. So, grab your favorite beverage and let's dive in. Hello and welcome to a new episode of Tech Talk. Today we're going to explore how GenAI tools are impacting the workplace in multiple ways.
A fascinating topic and also, very interesting
it.
for me as well. No, I say it every time, but yes, it's a topic I work on every day as well. So I love this season.
I'm sure you do.
Specifically, indeed. And for this great episode, we have two fantastic guests that if you're listening to Tech Talk for a while now, you've met already. So we have Xavier and Davy. So welcome.
Welcome again.
Thanks for having us.
Great. Then before we kick things off, for the ones that don't know you already, can you introduce a bit yourself, explain why you're here and the insights you will bring today? Xavier, if you want to start.
Okay, so I'm in charge of the team with advisory dealing with modern workplace, M365 and all the Copilot related implementation, and I'm also very active in the deployment of GenAI within the firm. And that's based on this experience that we'll share our thoughts today with the audience.
Hi, and I'm Davy De Roeck. I'm from Microsoft, and as a technology specialist, I focus on the Microsoft Power Platform, how it can help customers designing, deploying solutions. And I'm here really looking forward to what the question is and how it can help.
Fantastic. So let's get started. So first things first, how is generative AI changing the way we work today? And what are the key drivers behind this shift? Who wants to go first? Davy?
Well, generative AI introduce a complete new way how we can look to automation and think about how we can automate repetitive tasks. It also can help us to spark creativity. Key drivers that includes increased data availability, powerful cloud computing, and advanced AI frameworks all comes to the place when we talk about AI. And what I always see when I talk with customers is the understanding by that large language model of what is text, what is a language, is really helping and introducing automation in a complete new way. And that is, I think, what we see, how it can change.
Yeah, clearly we see that both at individual level and at corporate level. What I mean by that is that for many people, the first contact with GenAI was ChatGPT at home, and maybe for some of them in the corporate environment with Copilot. And they started to see how they could make their life easier, address their personal pain points. That's the first family of use cases. And as you were saying, it's also a great tool to expand the possibilities in terms of automation. And that's where we see also another family of use cases where we start to address end-to-end automation of much larger sequence of processes or even full processes.
I think these two layers and different use cases are very interesting, and it's a great way to start as well. And we talked about it in the last episode as well with Quentin. So can you give us maybe some practical examples of how GenAI is enhancing the workplace productivity and collaboration as a whole?
I will maybe start. When I will give examples, first of all, we have to know that from Microsoft, we have a tool which is called Microsoft Copilot. It's our tool how we bring AI to the surface of our user and end users. And so with tools like Microsoft Copilot, we can automatically, for example, draft emails in Outlook. We could already do it in the past, like writing emails, but now with that generative AI capability, it will understand a lot of information which we can bring in the context of writing an email. That can be previous emails, that can be other information related to that customer or that context that we are having in that email. He will take all that information and help us drafting a nice example of an email that we can do. It's not only emails. It can be go in generating presentations and help with data analysis and understanding data in a better or broader way. In a Power Platform context, the context that I work daily from my job and my role, we can build also what we call custom AI agents. Agents that we infuse with a lot of business information in a business context, and that then can take can take requests from employees, from internal, external users, and quickly generate output for that person. So agents, copilots will actually, let's say, help us by that large language model, by that generative AI capability, work different with data.
Clearly, we see those cases on the, I would say, practical day-to-day activities. Could be mail, could be any kind of content generation, but not only that, but also review, analysis, comparison, extraction of content. I mean, the use cases are really numerous. You mentioned text, but we see more and more additional channels being taken into account. There was the audio, there were pictures. All in all, could be now taken into account for the processing and to be combined to extend the capabilities of those solutions. So it's really growing every day, especially through the combination of the multiple options. That being said, there's also the possibility to, I would say, to apply it to multiple situations, because for me, there are two different dimensions that are to be taken into. On one side is the evolution of technology, and on the other side is the evolution of use cases, because the more people getting familiar with the capabilities, the more they think about ways to implement it. And that's why we are certainly far from seeing the end of the evolution, because we are, strangely here, we see that, let's say, science is going faster than adoption, because you hardly have the time to discover the new toy or the new fancy behavior, that you have a new one that may be better or addressing something completely different, that's opening brand new areas of creativity. And it's really a challenge for companies and organizations to keep up with this evolution. We see that with PwC in Luxembourg, we have quite a few people monitoring the evolution of the scientific part, on the adoption on the technology part, and also on the business use cases. And that's done also in collaboration with our colleagues in the network, because it's moving in so many directions for each of the industries. That's it's really great in terms of creativity, but really a challenge in terms of technology and operation.
Yeah, I guess it's hard to keep up, and we are just seeing the tip of the iceberg, right? So let's get a bit philosophical, I would say. Where should we draw the line between AI-driven automation and human decision making?
AI should be helping people doing their job or their job better. Especially if I look how Microsoft is looking to AI, it's not replacing about people. AI is a supporting tool to help people facilitate and do their job better. What we do as human is a lot of great work, but mainly we have a lot of routine tasks that we have to do in our day-to-day job. Think about data gathering, or analyzing information in repetitive tasks. Here we see that AI-driven automation can help us so that we can focus on the thing that we as a human can do well. That is that creative sparkling in working with whatever we do as a human. So I think where it can help is by helping reducing repetitive tasks, by making sure that we can focus on what we as a human really can do. In the Power Platform context, also, I think here what I see is a little bit a shift as well. With the GenAI capability, we can build automations. We can build automations in a complete different way. Instead of in the past, that we have to define step by step exactly how an automation would look like. We have nice tools in the area, for example, a Power Automate, where we can create nice automations, but we have to define exactly step by step as a kind of a flow chart how an automation needs to be defined. Now with a GenAI, we can even go a step further. We can just describe how a business process needs to be handled. And an AI model can help us to orchestrate based on a natural language instruction plan what that orchestration or what that automation needs to be executing. So we don't need any more that technical translation into a fixed execution plan. So I see here as well where GenAI can help is translating more business context, business scenarios into actual outcome without that technical translation.
Clearly, as you say, there. I think a first dimension to consider is simply technology. Is the tool capable to do it or not? Because if it's not capable, there's no debate. There's no tool to be to be involved. But as you were saying, this position, this limit is moving quite quickly. So it's important to reassess it regularly. On the other side, it's the accountability or the liability. That's also something to take into account, because it's not because the bot is doing it that you are not accountable for it. So depending on how comfortable you are with the outcome, the consistency of the outcome, and the risk associated with the process, you can more or less delegate it. There's the ethic also aspect, depending on the nature of the choices that you want the system to make, or that have to be made during the process. Do you expect the system to take care of that systematically from time to time, or to escalate when it goes beyond some boundary of when stakes are too high? But that's things that have to be thought up front, so that you don't, I would say, discover problem at the end of the process. So it's a very important question, and it's not one that you will have a definitive statement. It's really something to reconsider regularly, because I think over time we are going to delegate more and more activities to some sort of an AI. And here we are still talking about information system, but for those also interesting in the domain, you may have seen also the progress with the robots, or simply on a day-to-day basis, the self-driving car also who are improving. So all those aspects are pushing the boundaries of what we consider as acceptable for an AI to take care of.
Yeah, and talking about acceptability, I think when we speak about AI, one topic that always comes to mind, or to that people talk about, is risks. So what do you see are the biggest risks, let's say, and challenges when integrating GenAI tools into the workplace, specifically because we talk about modern workplace, and how can companies address these risks?
A good question. I would say the key challenges I see are on three levels. The first is data security. We need to make sure that the data that we are using is secure stored. Think about all the discussions. Will my data that I use inside all the GenAI conversations, will it being used into training new models, for example? Customers don't want that. And we don't do that at Microsoft, for example. So data security is one aspect. Second aspect is data quality. bad data in will still produce bad data out. Okay, we use GenAI tools to look into our data and to answer questions, but if we feed them with wrong data, we will not have a proper outcome. So even now with a GenAI, we see sometimes the struggle of, is our data accurate? Is it fine? Is it correct for the use case that GenAI is using it? A very concrete example, I built a chatbot for a certain customer that was handling customer requests from a kind of a help desk scenario, and they feed it procedures. And the procedures contains two kind of information. It contains general procedure information from the customer, the external user, and also a small information how the procedure could be done internally from the help desk employee. But the chatbot did not separated those different informations. So what happens is that sometimes the internal procedure was being used for external exposure. So you see, not only the risk, but the data quality will become quite important. And then the privacy concerns. What is that data? And what can we get out of that data? What is the way that people with GenAI will can look into our data? Maybe they can ask by different questions, getting information out that we were not aware of it. So I think those, for what I see from my role, are the biggest risk and challenges: the security, the quality, and the privacy. And companies, well, they should actually build a kind of robust governance, and the tools will and the platforms need to help those customers. Think about Microsoft has a quite secure cloud services that can help them to streamline all those capabilities, and especially the data to minimize the risks that organizations and employees are having.
Clearly, governance will be a challenge and a strong prerequisite, especially in the light of the AI Act. Now, that puts a strong requirement in the ability of the organization to control what's taking place in relation to AI. What processes are using AI? Are the user correctly equipped? Do they have the knowledge to use it correctly? So that's certainly something to take into account. And also looking a bit further, I see other types of challenges regarding the evolution, how to be competitive in the age of AI, because as you were saying, those capabilities now they are quite easily available. They are provided by large players in the cloud, accessible to all your competitors as well. So how do you remain distinct? How do you remain distinctive? How can you make sure that also your staff is not over relying on the system and is still performing the controls that they are supposed to? As previously we mentioned, we want human in the loop, but it's very important that the human play the role that we expect the human to play in that loop. And unfortunately, what we have seen is that very often it does not happen. And you don't need to look very far to find examples. I mean, there are plenty of illustration of students using the ChatGPT to perform their homework, and even they do a cut and paste even of the answer or guidelines of the bot, saying please review the conclusion because it may not be 100% correct, and it's even pasted in the homework. So the human in the loop is very lazy very often, and the temptation is very high to overlook his mandate in this, and that I think it will be also an important risk. It's not only the bot doing things which are not intended, but it's really also human not being up to the standards and being able to remain in control despite the mechanisms which are provided. So I think those aspects have not to be overlooked, and it's also important to take that into account. I've seen a very practical example. It was with the police in the US, when they had a very powerful tool to support policemen to write their report, and on purpose in every report they were included a strange sentence that has nothing to do with that. And just to check
Just
that
to check.
that the policeman was reviewing this, and if they eventually the sentence was still there, there was some sort of a fine of penalty for the policeman.
So I guess we humans are a big risk and challenge at the same
That
time.
have to be
Always.
addressed.
Definitely. And that takes me to the next question, actually. I mean, we mentioned, you and David mentioned different risks and challenges. And you, Davy, you mentioned robust governance. So, what steps should organizations take to successfully, if possible, if we can say successfully, implement Gen AI solutions while also ensuring employee buy-in? So, here comes the human factor.
Well, I would think to successfully implement a GenAI solution with employees buy-in, organizations should develop a clear strategy aligned with business goals, um, because it helps to understand how it can change their role, how they are impacted. They need to foster a culture of innovation. And maintain, especially that transparent communication. I think these are really crucial. Um, and they need to involve employees in the process, how human AI collaboration can work, how it can implement inside the organization. So I would think build a vision, build a clear strategy, and make sure that the business needs and the objectives, what GenAI can do and must do, are quite clear, and then look to how a tool or an infrastructure can support it.
Yeah. This vision is indeed a very important step, and it needs to be also adjusted to I would say, to the size of the whole ecosystem. What I mean by that is that what we see very often is that people just try to apply GenAI to the existing ecosystem with the current constraints, overlooking also that the other actors upstream and downstream in the value chain will also adopt GenAI, and may then be interested in different kind of services. And because probably that some of the services that were outsourced previously will be insourced, or some that they were willing to pay for previously they may not be willing to pay the same price because they would consider it could be highly automated in the future. I had quite a striking example recently talking with a colleague who is a lawyer in Paris. They saw a tender from a very large company for legal services. And in this case, it was explicitly mentioned, please explain your AI policy to see how you are planning to support your lawyer in delivery of service. Because the reasoning was, I don't want to pay a lawyer for something I could get from a bot.
Wow.
And so the point is, they need now to take that into account explicitly. So it will have a very strong impact on what you are able to deliver and where you bring value. That's why the vision it's important to understand how the world could change globally, and then where you could play a role based on your knowledge, on your skills, based on your asset, where you could bring value in this new ecosystem. So that's why it's important to look at this not backwards but forwards, to see, okay, what the world in the future will be like, because you are not the only one to change in the ecosystem. So that's the first thing. And second, as I was saying a bit before, there will be plenty of new capabilities, of new tools. So the challenges will be to turn that into something valuable, meaningful for your customer, for your employee. And that's why two aspects that you mentioned are very critical. So innovation, how you could get something innovative out of it, and not simply the same thing for cheaper or the same thing a bit faster, because that will be a short-term competitive advantage, is really to reinvent the experience of the customer. And the other aspect is also to the change management. Because yes, the change will be much faster. We will I would say, impact a broad range of the population. And that's why it's also very important to keep the different person in the loop, to upskill them, to give them the capabilities to play their role in the new ecosystem, in the new processes and the new services that you're going to deliver, and also to organize to define the role, to promote this innovation, because there are so many companies just organizing hackathon, innovation competition. Okay, fine, they come up with a few ideas, but how big is the challenge to turn those ideas, very often very good, into actual solution? How to reward the people coming with those ideas? And I think this will be even more important to become again distinctive, or to remain distinctive in such a market, because there will be so many things that will move in parallel, that you will need all the brains of the company, or maybe also some external brains from time to time, to try to figure out and to look forward at what is coming down the road.
And I think if I can add and to emphasize maybe on something you said, it's well, it's often the case with technology, but it's even more with GenAI. It's not a one shot. It's not something that you implement today and you just have like this shiny new tool on the shelf syndrome, where you say, okay, I have GenAI and it's there and it's fine and my company is using it. I think it's also even more, again, with GenAI, a long-term investment that you have to look at the use cases, because it's evolving so fast. The new use cases, as you were saying, Xavier, new things that you can do with the technology, new value that you can derive from GenAI. It's also something that in the long term that needs to be looked at on a regular basis as well. And linked to that, then maybe how do you see the role of GenAI in the workplace evolving over the next year? Because as we said, it's something that's evolving quite fast. How do you see its role specifically in the workplace evolving?
You ask it really for the next year, not the next months. It go really fast. To predict what it will be over the next years, it's something quite hard. Let's say, first of all, what I see is GenAI will become increasingly integrated into our daily workflows. I saw this week a slide somewhere in Microsoft deck that GPT, it was launched about just 2 years ago, February 2023, somewhere like that. So if you see how it already increased that huge the last 2 years, and especially the last year, I think we cannot imagine where it will come within a couple of years. It will definitely be introduced in a lot of services in our daily way that we handle IT tools, handle automations, especially. Also, what I see is how the AI, Gen AI, is involved, especially on today with the newest model. That area of deep reasoning is really coming more and more to the surface. It means in the beginning, the initial GPT models, you ask them a question, they looked into that model and gives you an answer in just a couple of seconds, straightforward. But now the current model, it will first of all think about an actual execution plan. What is the way that I need to think? How can I come to a better, more accurate answer? And that new generation of models will change as well a lot of different ways how we will work in the workplace. A very concrete example in my area is how we can maybe build apps, power apps. It's a nice capability we have in the Power Platform. We can create nice small applications from scratch, just in the beginning by drag and drop. And then we had what we called our Copilot. You just give him a business sentence. And from that business sentence, he creates for you immediately in a couple of seconds an application, or an application that he thought that you want. But now, if you look on today, the newest feature that will become live in a couple of weeks or months is that plan generation. That with the newest GPT models, He will of all think what is the plan that you need to build your app. He's gonna interact with you. Is that maybe the stakeholders that you want for your application? Is those the security roles? That he wrap it correctly, and with that information, he then and only after a couple of steps gonna think about what is the application that we need to build. And I think that is what I see as well in the evolution of the GenAI. It's not only just quickly question and answer, but it's taken in a broader context, taking that reasoning, that think about an execution plan to make sure that we have an accurate understanding of what that Gen AI must do. That is what I think, especially in the coming months, in the few years from now, that Gen AI will change and how it will evolve our workspace.
What I see on top, beside this evolution, which I would say focus towards the end user, we see more and more growing capabilities that call the agentic model. So we are more in the machine to machine realm. So it means your first audience as a company may not always be a human. It may be the bot working for the human. It means when you are going to create a website, you will not only make it look nice on your smartphone. You make it accessible for the bot that is going to perform the query. And on this, if you have seen the latest platform that are quite popular, like OpenAI Operator, or the latest Chinese solution that was really also buzzing for the past few weeks, really taking care of the actions on behalf. So typically, in the use cases they were illustrating, you were asking, okay, I would like to organize a trip. I would like to move to the US with my family or the next few weeks. Okay, please have a look. And the bot was investigating based on the age of the family, based on what we like, what we dislike, based on the weather, where we could go, and then booking the hotels there and organizing all the fancy things to do over there. And you just he was coming back with a program and just put your credit card, say okay, and he was able to book it. So it goes much further. And for something like that to happen, it means that the different services, the different platform needs to be accessible to the bot. So as we were performing search engine optimization to be visible to Google, then we will need to be visible to the bot of our agent. So it's a completely different model, and you don't need to appeal to the user, and you are not going to fool them the same way as the current model. So all the ones we had been able to make business just tricking the Google algorithm and improving the ranking there, they will need to reinvent completely the model, because that will also let's say be critical to ensure the visibility of those services. That also means that we need to find ways to expose those services that is understood by anyone. And for those following that, there was a Anthropic that released a protocol, and that's not necessarily the most fancy stuff when you release a technical protocol, but this one called MCP would allow any kind of services that are compliant with that protocol to be visible from an LLM I was doing its shopping on the web. So that means it's critical. It will just open any kind of tools, any kind of services, and make that accessible to your agent working for you. So again, it opens possibilities of combination that are far beyond what we could imagine for the moment, and that means also it will have a critical impact on where and how value could be delivered, because it means you could have really a custom agent working for you, taking care of your interests and acting depending on your priorities. And again, it will not call people for that. It will interact with the agents of the service provider. That's the I would say maybe a few months further down the road than the scenario that was described by Davy, but it's not science fiction anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how to feel about that. But yeah, well, So we are coming to an end. And I would like to ask you, Xavier, and you, Davy, for the key takeaways or advice you'd like to share with our audience.
Well, I would say embrace AI in a strategy. It is there. See how it can bring value. It can do great things. Do it in a step-by-step manner, but keep people always at the center. Don't forget, of course, governance, data security. It will open a continuous learning inside your organizations. Then I would say, and especially also a key takeaway, it is there, it can do great things, but don't forget the classic IT stuff that we still have. Because sometimes what I see as well is that people try to fix everything with GenAI. But if you don't need it always, maybe also think about the old classic tools, let's call them classic, which are still existing. They can still do great things. So, as a key takeaway, it is a great thing. Embrace it, use it, but I would say don't abuse it.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, difficult to add up on that.
I was gonna say.
On that one, because I
No pressure.
adhere to the reasoning. Is really the message is really, you don't simply watch it. It will never be. It's already the time to start. Don't wait for it to be better. It will always be better. So assume that it will be outdated by the time you will release it, by the time you will adopt it. And that's the nature of the game for the moment. Don't wait for the plateau to happen. You are very likely to become just a spectator by then if you are not already starting to work now. That's for me the key message, applying also the wisdom shared by Davy on the whole, but just do it now, doing smartly. Don't just throw everything that has been done so far through the window, but again, don't stick too much to the current practices, because you will see more and more things changing upstream, downstream, and it will be important to go beyond your traditional anchor point to remain relevant in the new ecosystem of the GenAI era.
I think it's very, very wise and great advice from you, Xavier and Davy. So thank you for that, and thank you. It was a pleasure to record this episode with you. So Carla, this is Tech Talk.
Technology made simple over a cup of coffee.
So Davy, Xavier, what's your favorite beverage? An unlisted question.
The most difficult one.
Is it still the same as last year?
Well, what I really like are non-alcoholic cocktails. Really like them, and there's a special brand that I'm not gonna call maybe here brands that I really like with some tonics. It can replace a nice gin tonic, but you don't have the alcohol in your blood. So that is what I really like on the moment.
Wow, so no coffee for me yet. But, I guess, water is still my go-to drink. I would say most frequently.
So very, very wise drinks today as well. So
Great. Thank you so much.
thank you.
And that's all for today. This is Tech Talk, technology made simple over a cup of coffee. Don't miss out on any future episodes by hitting subscribe. Thank you for listening to this episode, and see you in the next one.